welcome to S-StarTV podcast, Mr. Mark Radford.
Wicked, love
What's going
that.
on, brother? You
That's
good?
an intro, man.
When I say can't stop, won't stop, what does that trigger for you?
We definitely, that period, those views, we definitely had a moment that changed everything, like a scratching thing, jumping jack.
Yeah.
I said, I want to do ministry. He was like, all right,
Yeah.
we got it.
So you must have been buzzing for that.
Buzzy.
Also took AudioRehab over to Ibiza. How was that?
Oh, God.
That was that stress.
That was a disaster.
It's a stressful reaction.
Oh, my God. I personally lost nearly 100 grand.
Wow.
100 bags.
AudioRehab, the label.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, you know what? Radford's like the Wiley of the UK underground house scene. Is there any like producers that you nearly got or tracks and then it didn't actually go over the line? Or did you manage to get everything you wanted?
Do you know what? There's one tune.
Right, welcome to the S-StarTV podcast with myself, Jawsy. And this episode here is a good one for me, and it's one that's close to my heart because sitting next to me right now is, I'll say it's my joint first favourite DJ.
Oh, who am I
in the
joined with?
underground. Shh, we ain't releasing. It was Pioneer and Mr. Mark Radford that were my first favourite underground house DJs.
Wicked.
So welcome to S-StarTV podcast, Mr. Mark Radford.
Wicked.
What's
Love
going
that.
on, brother? You
That's
good?
an intro, man.
Listen, brother, you know what?
Wicked. Love that.
Yeah, so I remember it, I just got in, I don't know how, I can't even say how I got into it because it's not political, but it's a young story.
Right, okay.
So it's the guy.
So how old was you then?
I wasn't that young. I was probably 23.
So was it
23, we're talking 2011,
right?
I think.
Was it Aquarium?
No.
Before then?
It was, my first time I actually saw you live was Lightbox.
Oh,
So
right.
it was Lightbox. It was a Friday night. It was
Okay.
I don't know, it was a random event. It was Lightbox and it was 2011.
Right.
But I'd heard you before that. But I'd heard a Pioneer CD as well before. I was in some girl's car and she had a Pioneer CD playing, I think, or a Hot Stepper CD.
Right.
Then I started delving into it and then I found Radford, listened to your radio show, followed you, and the rest is history, mate.
Wicked. Love
Like, yeah,
that.
man, thank you for coming through.
You're welcome. Thank you for having
Fresh
me,
from
man.
a booking, in
Pleasure.
between another booking as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, so let's get straight into it. You've mentioned it there. I'm going to start with, for me, you're part of the foundation as well in my eyes, but I just want to talk about one of the things that I think is massive to what then expanded in this scene. And it was actually not the beginning for you, but Can't Stop, Won't Stop. I want to start there.
Yep.
When I say Can't Stop, Won't Stop, what does that trigger for you?
Good times, man. Like a massive platform for me to be able to express myself completely different from what I was doing before musically.
Yeah.
You know, big up Dagger. When they started it, it was called Church. When they started it on a
I've heard of that, yeah.
on a Sunday at Herbal.
Yep.
So it was just started as an after party for Egg.
Okay.
Everyone was like,
See, this is a history lesson.
yeah, them
away.
lot used to go to Egg. I never used to really go to Egg at the time because it was like minimal underground, like real sort of
Original minimal, innit?
yeah, like
The original
industrial house. And at the time, I was kind of still playing more like soulful house, a bit of garage, getting bookings here and there, but just playing for mates. You know, wasn't really doing anything. I kind of not resigned myself to the fact that I wasn't really going to get big, but I was just doing it for the love of doing it. You know, I'd been DJing since I was a kid. I'd done loads of parties at college.
So did you see yourself as, I don't want to say professional DJ, but at that time was DJing a hobby?
It was more of a hobby.
Okay.
Yeah, I was working full time. You know, I had my kids when I was young, so they took a big. They were the main focus on my life was going to work, looking after my kids.
Of course.
Obviously, DJing was secondary. I was going out every weekend, still trying to get somewhere, but kind of just thought I'm just going to be at this level, playing at little parties, and just I said, I was playing Soulful House at the time, and then Will and Dagger started. I remember the first party they put on at Herbal. Like I said, it started on a Sunday morning, and we was all pals. Like we was all in a circle of friends. So I said to him, he hadn't booked me for it. I said to him, why didn't you book me? And he went, well, you don't play this sort of music, Rads. I said, I know what you lot want. Because I'd been out with them, I think it was 2 weeks previously to a party in the End.
Yeah.
It was upstairs. It was Raymondo Rodriguez's party called, I think it was called Wrong, something like that. And he played one tune and the music, it was like early morning after party, and I was just dying to go home. I was done. I was knackered. These lot were all just still going through it, dancing to this crazy music. And I'm like, I don't even get what this music is. You know, like real proper like Italian minimal at the time. Back then it was like off-key bleeps and stuff. But then he dropped one tune, and I see the whole club just change, just went mad.
Do you remember the tune?
Yeah, In White Rooms by Book of Shade.
Okay.
And that's what changed it for me.
Yeah.
I saw how they went, and I was like, why isn't the DJ just seeing what's just happened? Because he played that tune, and then when it ended, he went straight back to playing the stuff before, and the whole vibe just dropped again.
Read it, yeah.
I was like, raw. I need to find it. I didn't know what the tune was, so I went over to him, said to him, what's that tune called?
There weren't even Shazam back then, was there?
No. We didn't even have, I think I had a Nokia 8310 or whatever they're called, a brick phone in my, I didn't even have, no smartphones then.
Yeah.
And so I went over to him and asked him, and he said to me, yeah, it's by this group called Book of Shade. Do you know Book of Shade?
Yeah, of course.
Right.
They
So,
made that dum, dum,
yeah.
dum, dum.
So
dum,
went
dum.
home. I was still, I think it was LimeWire was still being used then.
Yeah.
So I've gone home, gone on LimeWire, because I was still buying vinyl. So I didn't really know where to go to find that sort of music. So then before even Beatport had really started.
Yeah.
So I went on LimeWire, put in Book of Shade, got all of their tracks, and then started finding other artists that were similar to them. And then I said to him, right, let me do a set at the party. So then I played, I think 4 hours.
What year is this? 2011 or 2010?
No, this was 2007.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
2007.
Right
2007, yeah. Early 2007. And then I think I played 4 hours at the first party, and I was just playing tunes that I'd never played before, but could see what it was doing to these lot. And I was like, wow, I've got something here.
Yeah.
Like, I've got a sound that no one else is putting a whole set together of, and then just went with it, and rest is history, man.
So then where did it start to really blow then, Can't Stop, Won't Stop?
When it went to Aquarium.
And when we talking?
That was 2000 and ended 2009, 2010.
Okay.
Because Herbal shut. Then we were doing parties at Egg, Leisure Lounge. Do you remember Leisure Lounge?
I've heard of it.
We were doing Now. So we didn't really have a base. So Will and Dagger were looking for somewhere for it to grow properly again. And then Aquarium come along. And then obviously when we started the Sundays at Aquarium, it kind of just went.
Yeah. And so who was the dream team then? Who was the residents? Who was the DJs?
When it first started, it was...
Or when it got going. So let's get to the Aqua.
Me, B3 and Max.
Yeah.
And then we brought in Adam.
Was B3 there before you on the team, or was you
No.
there before B3?
So when it first started, it was when it was at Herbal. It was me, Lawrence Keaton, and Max, and then B3 got involved. I think probably within like 3 or 4 weeks.
Okay.
He bless him, he'd turn up with bits of vinyl, and again he was like, "Let me have a go." Let him jump on, and then he just started doing his thing, and we was like, right, he's got something as well. We all had our own different vibe, you know, and we was all bringing our own sort of different people to the party, but it just, when we come together, it was magic. It just happened. It was magic.
B3 tells me about his vinyl collection.
Yeah.
He bigs it up.
Yeah.
Is it true?
Yeah. B3's got some mad vinyl, bro. Mad.
Yeah.
Because I'd say he was probably into that sound before I was, because I was still doing the soulful and the garage thing. You know, I grew up through jungle, drum and bass.
Yeah.
My record collections, all that. I never had house in my record collection. Do you know what I mean? It was like my house come from like MP3s and WAVs and USBs and CDs. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I wasn't into house that much at the time. I kind of stumbled into it. So that's why I was playing it completely different to everyone else was playing it.
Okay.
I was playing house like I was playing jungle. Wheeling up tunes, do you know what I mean? It was like I come with a different energy to it.
Okay.
And it worked. You know, next minute I've got DJs looking over my shoulder like, oh, what's he playing?
Yeah.
You know, I had people taking pictures of my CD wallet at times.
All blurry on them old cameras. Because admittedly, only the first time I went to Can't Not Stop was 2011.
Right.
And I couldn't even tell you how I heard about it.
Right.
Because the internet wasn't booming back then. It might have been BBs or something like that. So I don't know how I got... Yeah, Blackberries.
Broadcast.
So I don't know how I found out. But when I walked in, straight away, the energy was crazy.
Mad, wasn't it?
Crazy. Like I just knew I walked into some sort of generational culture moment. Like I just knew like this was, you know, like your garage days, your jungle days.
Yeah.
This was like the birth of something. You could just feel it when you walked in, and I felt like this was what I was meant to be in. Do you know what I mean? And it was just crazy. And yeah, I think it was you, B3, Max. Yeah. I'm not sure who else, but yeah.
We definitely, that period, those few years, we definitely had a moment that changed everything.
Yeah. Did you notice that then?
Totally. I knew what was going on. I was like, wow, I finally found a niche that's ours.
Yeah.
Because I was always, you know, as a DJ, you're always going out, and because I was a raver first, I'm going out and listening to the DJs that I grew up listening to and loved. And I was always kind of trying to find the tunes that they were playing. Yeah. I wanted the exclusives that they had.
Of course.
Never had my own exclusives. Mm-hmm. And then when we started it, especially when I was on Rinse, I was getting people make music for me.
Of course.
Sending it to me.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, I've got something that's mine that no one's done before.
Of course.
We were doing it a different way to what anyone else was doing it. So it was crazy. I used to have to sit back and think, wow, I finally got what I've always wanted.
Yeah,
you know, it was mad.
It was powerful, man. Like you go into Can't Stop, Won't Stop, and you would see house ravers, you'd see footballers in there. Like I remember like Nile Ranger and a couple others in there. Yeah. Way Better Know would be in there raving. Like it was special, man. It was real special.
It was mad because normally when you're doing the set, we used to rotate the set times, right? Every week. And then no one would ever be bothered about playing the opening set because as soon as the door opened, people would come. It was girls. Girls would run into the club. And just the dance floor would be rammed within like 5 minutes.
Yeah. What was it, 11 till 7?
Yeah. The first set was crazy energy. And
so it was just set the tone.
Yeah, because I think that back then, because it was so new to everyone and people might have been going to like a more sort of techno-y rave in the day, but they knew that if they were coming to us at that night, they were going to get the beats because we was the only ones really playing that music then.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
There were people doing little bits, but to come to a rave and hear it all night long, you know.
The music was.
I don't care what anyone says. We were the first ones that were doing it.
So consistent. It's proper music. And if you was about them times and you managed to do the whole Brick Lane on a Sunday, and then you could get into Aquarium after.
Fuse and then come to Aquarium.
It was a proper day, wasn't it?
That's what I mean because Fuse was doing their thing. And we was never trying to emulate what they were doing. It was completely different. Yeah. But people would go there and then come to us and the vibes changed. And it was, that's what made it so special, I think.
So, for you, was it like, once you that became your home and that was a residency and, the momentum build, was that where your career changed?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's Will now? Because is he,
married, kids.
Is he involved in music still?
No, not at all.
No. Because what a part he's played in UK underground music, really, if we're being honest. He's played a massive part.
Yeah,
a massive part.
Massive. But I think when there was a few things that were going on behind the scenes, it's hard to maintain something like that when other people get involved that weren't there from the beginning. Arguments start to happen. Other factors want to bring other people in. And then I think it just kind of all just fell apart.
I was going to say, so why did it go, what happened? Why did it fall apart and go missing then?
I think losing Aquarium was a massive thing.
Okay.
Obviously, when Aquarium lost their license, it was where could they go? It was hard. And I know by then I'd already moved on because that's when AudioRehab started for me and I was concentrating on that. So I'd already kind of pulled away. But I think they struggled to find a venue that was going to ever replicate what was going on at Aquarium. And that was such a special moment in time for us all.
Yeah, of course.
I think it was impossible to continue. I think it just got a little bit harder to maintain what was going on. And Will had loads of other things going on. He was into properties. He had a studio over in Hackney. I don't know if he still got that. But yeah, he just moved on to do other things as well. Then obviously my career was going in a different direction. B3 was doing his thing. It is hard when there's so many other people involved to maintain that one thing. Of course. You keep it going forever.
Yeah, of course, of course. Well, big up Will wherever you are, man.
Yeah, of course. Big up Will, big up Dagger. Hands up, they played a massive part in launching our careers.
Yeah. Do you know what? It's a shame that there wasn't much videos about back then because you
I
can't
know.
really go back and look in the archives and see what happened at Can't Stop.
I think if you go, I think I was sort
I
of.
remember the photos,
I
like
think, yeah, I think the Facebook page is still up.
Okay.
I think if you go on there, there's because they got to the point where they were doing videos every week.
Okay.
Like,
I remember the photos.
Yeah, loads of photos.
Pedro, I remember Pedro's photos.
Do you remember the dance-offs as well?
Yeah, towards the end. Yeah, I
they
remember
started
the
the dance-offs on the stages.
Yeah.
They were brilliant.
Yeah, I
but
remember.
yeah, I said for me, it was pivotal.
Yeah,
for me.
100%.
You know,
100%. Just while we're sticking to that, two other parts I want to bring up about. Did you notice when the whole shuffling / cutting shapes and that thing, when it started to happen?
I remember the first night.
Yeah, go on.
I remember the first night. I think I'd done a party during the day at Toilet.
Where's that?
Public Life.
Okay.
Which was the little club. It was actually in the old disused toilet underneath, just by Commercial Road, just beyond Brick Lane on Commercial Road. There was a little club there, but it was Ash Cannon and all them lot.
Mm-hmm.
They were the first ones that I ever see do the shuffle dance.
It?
So me and Dom had a party in the day there.
Yeah.
Me and Dominic Danielle, big up Dom.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went from there to Aquarium, and then I see all that little crew coming to Aquarium. We were like, oh, what's this dance these lot are doing? And that's when it was like people were watching them, and I could see these girls trying to, I can remember watching it, these girls are trying to copy them, and it just spread around the whole club. And
everyone just started doing it.
Within the next couple of weeks, the whole club shuffling. And
when was that? Just so we can put this cemented.
This was early Aquarium days. I'd say like probably 2009 still.
Okay,
2009. And in 2010, it just went.
Yeah. Because that's, when I walked in, I was with one of my pals. And I was already doing videos, but I was doing like grime videos.
Yeah.
So I was looking around, I was like, bruv, these lot are fucking sick at dancing. What's going on?
Mad,
and I was like, bruv, I need to film these lot, bruv. This is mad. And then Justice, Edward Scissorhands, he's my pal, he's from the same manor.
Yeah.
And I saw him.
Boys were sick,
I saw him and I was like, bruv, like, let's link up, let's shoot a video.
Yeah.
And then the rest was history. But man, it was fucking sick.
Yeah.
But also, another thing I want to say about them. So even I looked through your archives on the Resident Advisor back on your bookings, just to like get an idea of what you was doing on the earlier days and that. It only goes back to 2010. But even I saw in the like Never Dogs were playing at Can't Stop, Won't Stop. Obviously Never Dogs are like a proper like Italian minimal.
Yeah.
Sick, they're sick. But I was like, bro, I didn't know them sort of acts were at Can't Stop, Won't Stop. So when did it move from minimal to like the deep house sound? Was it what sort of era?
Yeah, because
it must have been minimal at the beginning, right?
Ish.
Yeah.
We were playing more sort of big more electronic based house, like I said, Book of Shades, Will Soul, them kind of acts, but still had. For me, it's weird. I always say it had elements of drum and bass in it, like big stabby bass lines, big synths, pads, like eerie music, which is what I've always liked. And then when we was doing the parties at Egg, Will was friends with the Never Dogs. Remember the Never Dogs used to come and play. And I think they even played a few times at Aquarium. But it was then when we started to get the deeper house, like some of the soulful bods started getting involved. The bass lines changed slightly to the more deep house stuff. And then that's when it kind of, I'd say definitely 2010, that's when it went more in that direction. And they carried on their journey to the more tech house thing that they do now.
Yeah.
But they was involved really, really early on.
So then let's go to that era then. So let's say 2010 onwards. Where did you start looking for your music? Where was you finding your inspiration from? Because you was the one and a couple others were bringing that sound to London and to the underground scene. Where was you getting your inspiration from?
At the time, I used to just troll Beatport for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. And if I'd find one artist, I'd then go onto their profile and look who they'd work with and then dive. And that's what I say to people. It's so important. When people say to me, where'd you find your music? Obviously now, I'll be honest, I've been on Beatport for years. I don't need to. I'm in a great
Favorite venues back then? Where did you love playing? I've got some great memories of you playing in like Hidden, 2AD.
Yeah, love
Places
2AD.
like after parties in 2AD
Yeah,
were
love
different,
2AD, man. They
What
were
a
wicked.
venue.
No, that was Leisure Lounge. That's what
Okay.
we then changed to 2AD.
Okay.
So yeah, there, obviously Aquarium. I used to love playing in Egg. Still love playing in Egg. Yeah, like Hidden, Cable, all those places. Proper.
So was you at Cable? I never managed to see you there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With Rhythm and Funk, actually. I played at Cable. I did a few things at Cable. I played for Connected, big up Jesse James and the crew. Like I said, Rhythm and Funk, Jerome and Rich Ross, big up. A couple of times I was at Cable.
Have you ever been a house raver? Or have you always been a DJ?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I said, I was never a house raver.
Yeah.
I got into it. I was into, like I said, Soulful House. Off the back of Garage, when obviously Garage went all MC heavy and went in that direction, I got more into like Masters at Work.
Okay.
That kind of soulful, where it lost it in Garage, I found it in house.
So you was playing Garage before?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I grew up playing like Jungle, drum and bass.
Yeah, because I knew. I thought you started.
But then
Jungle.
when
was you a raver in Jungle? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what I grew up. So my raving days were in Jungle and Garage.
Okay.
Yeah. But then when like I said, when I got that switch, and then was DJing every week, I would still go to parties, but I didn't rave at those parties before I was. I was in those parties because I was DJ.
Of course.
First and foremost, you know what I'm saying. So my raving days were Jungle and Garage.
Yeah. So
who
back then? Let's go back a bit.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite DJs? Who was your used to the tape packs and all that? Who was your favorite?
Randall, Jumping Jack Frost.
Yeah.
Fabio Groove Rider, Mickey Finn.
So was you into Jumping Jack Frost early days before he was Jungle?
Yeah.
Acid House and all that.
So Acid House, Jumping Jack Frost was one of the first DJs I ever heard. I went to a club called Dungeons on Leabridge Road. I was 15. I'd nicked my brother's paper provisional driving license all the way down and memorising his date of birth. I know my brother's date of birth anyway. But you know when it's like, when someone puts you on the spot, I was like, I knew what I had to say. The bouncer went, "You sure this is your idea?" I was like, "Yeah, what's your date of birth?" I said mine.
Is there even photos on it back then, or was it
just
straight paper?
Just straight paper.
Straight paper.
No photo, nothing.
Mental.
Nothing. And he just laughed and he went, "Go in." I was like, about 15, I think, when I went there, Dungeons.
Yeah.
And then it was a really grotty club under Leabridge Road, like just loads of tunnels. Couldn't see anything. It was pitch black, strobes, lasers. And then in the morning, you'd come outside into this big courtyard, and it was probably one of like the first outdoor things I ever saw.
Okay.
Ever been to. Then they'd start the music at about 3, 4 in the morning, just as the sun's coming up.
Wicked.
It was mad. The first DJ I ever heard there was a guy called LSD.
Okay.
He was like one of the original acid house hardcore DJs. And then Jumping Jack Frost came on after him. And he used to do like a scratching thing. Jumping Jack Frost, Bad Boy DJ. And I was like, rah, how's he doing that? And then I used to kind of just go to all the raves that they were playing at. Pyramid Centre, Dalston Lanes, loads of like just underground parties. And then I remember Telepathy on Marshgate Lane. And it was just half a warehouse, half open with like a big tarpaulin over the ceiling. And that's where they kind of, DJ Ron, Groove Ride, that's where they started to develop, well, what I first heard, Jungle, was in them raves.
Yeah.
So that was my raving days. I was out every weekend, just following this music, man. It was just like, wow, what is
So you
this?
watched that transition into a massive scene as well?
Yeah.
Sick.
I grew with it, you know.
It
was mad days.
So when did you start DJing it?
I've been DJing since I was a kid.
So what was your first genre you mixed then? Was it jungle or before that?
I was buying hip hop
Okay.
from when
What, US hip hop?
UK hip hop, US
UK.
hip hop. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Like from when I was at school, I was always buying music. I was always buying like tape packs. I mean, I was buying music when I was in primary school. I used to save up my pocket money and go and buy chart music, you know?
Yeah.
I had a little DJ set up. I had a Fisher Price turntable on a tape deck. I used to record the top 40 and
Fisher Price, you know.
dub.
Didn't even know they had a turntable.
Yeah, man, it was like a little plastic
skates?
turntable.
I remember they had skates.
The Fisher Price turntable, man.
Change the size of them and that.
Yeah.
Quality.
So yeah, and then because me and my brother had these 2 little single tape decks, and I remember I used to record the top 40 on both of them, and then I used to like dub out the talking.
Yeah.
So it would just go from one track. So I was making mixtapes
Yeah,
when I was
yeah.
like, I was at primary school when I was
Wicked.
doing that.
Yeah, I
It was
believe it,
mad.
mate. I believe it because I had the early doors as well.
Yeah,
Like that.
it's
I was
crazy.
but I was taping garage sets when I was in school.
Right.
So when I was in I remember being 8 or 9 and
I was
putting
taping
cardboard
the
in
top
tapes.
40.
Yeah, quality, man.
Editing out Terry Wogan.
You doing your own voiceover on them?
No.
Right, here's a random one for you.
Yeah.
Day party, night party, or after party? Would you like playing that? Would you prefer? Obviously, each one's different, and I'm sure you like playing all of them. But where's where Radford really loves?
Right. I would like to still say after parties, but I can't last that long anymore.
Wake up and go to the after party now, isn't it?
Yeah. So for me, it's like middle of the night, like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. That's when I'm in my element now.
Yeah.
Like that's when I'm at my peak.
Yeah.
You know, daytime parties I love, but I can't really go in at a daytime party. You know, the festivals and stuff that I play at, I can't really go properly in on them. I have to keep it a little bit more.
What did you just play now from the event you just come from? Because the Nicky Black Market was on it.
Right, so I started off playing like more old school house. But when I say old school, like some early Low Stepper stuff.
Okay.
Some early Martin Ikin tracks. Some MK stuff. That kind of old school house. And then I started playing proper old school, like 1991 breakbeat stuff.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, played a couple of old school, and then brought it back up to date a bit towards the end. But yeah, it was one for the oldies.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. You fitted in then, yeah?
Yeah. Liberty. Yes, I did.
Right, let's move on. Right, now let's talk about your baby, man, AudioRehab.
Yes.
So when was AudioRehab created then?
So it was already, I got involved 2011 because it was already a party. I didn't actually start AudioRehab, it was already going.
Okay.
Lawrence Bagnall, my old partner, and DJ Yankee from back in the day, it was theirs. They started it at the House and Terrace, which is now Studio 338. And they asked me to come and, because I was part of another party at the time called Keep It Minimal.
Okay.
With Carlos and Ryan. They now run Arupa Records. We was doing this party called Keep It Minimal. We'd done a few events at Egg that were going really well. And then I was on Rinse, which was, my show was just blowing up every week.
We'll come to that.
And then Lawrence said to me, do you want to come and host the Terrace for a Lovebox after party at AudioRehab? So I was like, yeah, wicked, of course. So we went and did the after party, not the after party for Lovebox on the Terrace, and basically the club was empty. Everyone was outside with us. So he was like, you need to come and play in the main room now.
Is it?
And I can't remember who was playing at the time, but they weren't too happy. They basically kicked him off and I went on and just smashed it. And then the whole night I was just looking at the logo and everything. I was like, this just looks wicked. Like the name, everything about it just looked right for me.
Yeah. It spoke to you.
Yeah. I was like, it just looks right for what I'm doing. The sound it's AudioRehab. And then Lawrence was like, right, we want you to be our resident DJ. And like, we want to steer it in the direction of the music that you're playing. So basically all the other DJs then got sacked off.
Wow.
And then it was me, Carlos, Ryan, Dominic Danielle, Georgia Girl at the time. Started booking people like Alex Arnaud to come and play at Studio 338 for AudioRehab, which we were doing it every Saturday.
Yeah. Every Saturday, was it?
Yeah.
Wow.
But then I think we did it for about a month. We were going to throw loads of dough at it. We were going to get the billboard outside with our names on, plus certain guests. But then they started doing roadworks at the tunnel and closing the tunnel every Saturday night.
Oh.
So people couldn't get through the tunnel.
Oh.
I was like, what? So it was literally, we were doing a couple of nights we'd done it and there was like no one there. And I was like, oh my God, I've just got involved in this brand and now it's dying. And Yankee was like, 10 seconds, I think
can't remember the first one I went to, but one that sticks out for me that I remember well was one in Fire.
Yep.
That was a good party.
So Fire was the first big one that we did.
I remember that. It was a really good party.
With the sound that we've been pushing. We'd been done a few little smaller ones, and that was we did that as the label launch party.
Yeah.
We had James Watt, Dominic Danielle, Georgia Girl, myself, and House FM were in the other room. And yeah, that was when we were like,
it was ram, wasn't it?
Wow, this is mad.
Yeah, it was ram.
And I remember Mikey, big up Mikey from House FM, Lawrence said to me that they was in the office, and when I came on, because I had the music that everyone was into at the time, and I had it before. Obviously, we were releasing the music, so I had all the bullets. As soon as I come on, the roar from the crowd, because the first tune I dropped, Mikey thought it was kicking off. So he's come running out thinking it was kicking off, but it was just everyone kicking off in a good way.
Yeah.
Because of the beats that I can't even remember what it was. Can't remember. I really can't remember.
Yeah. No, that was a wicked party. I remember it clearly. Obviously, I've been to a lot of parties, but I remember that very clearly.
Yeah, that was a dope night, man.
And then what? Then you moved on to Ministry.
Yeah, after that, because Lawrence used to run a party called Smooth at Ministry, which is a massive R&B party. They were running every Sunday there, so he'd got a good link with Ministry, and he said to me, "Where do you want to go next?" I said, "I want to do Ministry." He was like, "All right."
Yeah,
we got it.
So you must have been buzzing for that.
Buzzing.
That must have been a big moment for you.
Because it's the pinnacle. It's that first night, the first party we did, I was so nervous that I got really drunk before my set. Because I was just a bag of nerves.
Like a best man speech. When you
I was absolutely shitting myself.
Yeah.
I was like, because everyone was there. Everyone from the scene, all the producers, all the other promoters I'm working with, they were like, "This is it. This is what it's about." It was a massive, massive thing for me,
Huge.
And I was so nervous. But I remember when I was thinking, "God, I'm battered," and I think I must have drunk a whole bottle of brandy just to calm my nerves. Then I'm drinking loads of water before my set. But I remember as soon as I dropped my first tune, the music and the crowd just took over, and I was in it, and it was. I remember the first set when I finished. I felt like crying. I was so emotional.
Wicked, love that.
I even now thinking about it, I get tingled
because that's wicked, man.
Ministry of Sound. It's like the pinnacle of every DJ's career. Man.
Yeah,
you know, it's a club that I only ever dreamed of playing at when I was a kid.
Let alone,
and for the first time to me be playing in there was my own party.
Yeah, that's massive.
Do you know what I mean? It was like, I'd played in the loft and the baby box before. But my first time playing in the box was my own night. It was mad.
Quality.
Crazy.
Sometimes you have to say it out loud to really take it in how big of achievement it is. Do you know what I mean?
I do. I look back at it now and I think, like, wow, if it all ends tomorrow, I can say I did that.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. I mean, I'm going to talk more about AudioRehab, but I just want that time there, you was on fire. You was on absolute fire. You was football terms, you was like Lionel Messi. Like you were just banging the goals in. Like the amount of bookings you was getting per weekend.
It was crazy.
But turning everything upside down. It wasn't like getting repetitive, because obviously I'd seen you in a lot of raves myself, and every set was just crazy. Like when you think back to that time there, and you think, obviously you must have been tired because you was playing. How many nights? How many bookings did you get on average a weekend, really? Because you was everywhere.
I was Friday, Saturdays. I was probably squeezing in three, sometimes four on after party as well. And then Sunday, I might do a daytime party. So might have been like sometimes 8 bookings a week.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Mad. When I think about it now, when I first started breaking into the South London scene as well, this was probably before, no, it was as AudioRehab was growing, but when Tipper and then started booking me for Fridge Bar, some nights I'd be at home and bed asleep and wake up, set my alarm to get up at 4 a.m, drive all the way down to Brixton. You know, I'm from Essex. I'm from Harlow, so it's like an hour and a half away from me. Yeah. So I'd be getting up in the morning, driving down there, doing my set, going home, and then getting to a crew the next day. And I'd just be like, I don't know how I did. Well, I know I did it, but I couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
And then the Midlands obviously started calling. So sometimes I'd be going to like Leicester, Leeds, Birmingham, and then back down to London and doing 2.
Did they appreciate your sound up there?
Oh, massively.
Yeah.
The Birmingham's crew, like Midlands crew, just got it straight away.
Yeah.
But the Midlands have always got the London sound. They did from jungle and drum and bass.
Because they have got their own sound.
Yeah.
but you managed to fit in as well. Like
they love it. They still do.
Yeah.
They really, really took, because they Midlands is all about big, gritty bass lines. And I think because that's what we were playing, our style of house was completely different to what everyone else was doing. Even though we was playing a lot of big artist music, it's the way that we was putting it together. You know, some artists would just play one of those sort of tracks, like I said earlier, and then go on to a different sound. But we was just going, no, you're having this all night long, just ramming it down people's throats. They were loving it.
No, that's quality, man. So what about, you also took AudioRehab over to Ibiza? How was that?
Oh God.
That looks like stress.
That was a disaster.
It's a stressful reaction.
Oh my God.
Go on.
How that didn't break me, I'll never know. So obviously we've been doing ministry. You know, we did ministry for 7 years.
Wow.
You know, 7 years we did ministry for.
That's amazing.
So after, I think it was after 3 years, 3 or 4 years, Lawrence, as he runs a big festival called Sundown Festival. So he was under so much pressure from the festival that he said to me, Mark, I can't put any time into it anymore. He said, I'm going to have to just back away. So I'm going to have to let you do it. Or he said,
is that the originator you're talking about, who Lawrence started it? Yeah.
So he was like, you're doing all the work anyway. He said, I'm hardly doing anything. He said, I'm not going to keep taking money from something. I'm not really doing anything, because got to a point I was doing all the lineups. I was helping get the artwork done. Lawrence was still doing bits and pieces, but even he said, look, I can't do it no more, so I'm going to hand it over to you. So it was just me running it then. Someone who's not even a promoter. I was like, shit, now what do I do?
Yeah, of course.
So I was working with ministry, and again, it was, you know, still going really well. So I was like, everyone kept saying to me, come, why don't you do Ibiza? Why don't you do Ibiza? And I was doing so well. I was like, I've got the money behind me to do it. So I was going to do it on a slightly smaller level, and I've got a friend who's just like got stupid money, and he was like, if you want to do it, I'll back you. He said, and we'll do it properly. So I went over there, had the meetings with a couple of clubs, decided to just go full at it, and got Eden, 3,000 capacity venue. Took it on for 16 weeks. We paid everything up front, paid all the deposits for the DJs.
He's definitely got a lot of money, innit?
Paid. I mean, I'd put my share in. And we done all the flights, all the hotels, all the deposits, paid all our promo staff for the first couple of months. Went out there he's got a Bentley. We took a Bentley over there.
How much money were you talking that you've had to lay down there, really?
I personally lost nearly 100 grand.
Wow.
100 bags.
Wow.
I invested.
That's a lot of money.
And came home with £7 in my bank account.
You're laughing. I can't even look at you.
Bruv, I had to. It's money, innit? So I had a serious back injury around 2008 when my career just started, because I used to be a satellite and aerial engineer.
Okay.
And I fell.
I thought you was a roofer.
No. I used to be a satellite engineer.
Okay.
And I fell on a flight of stairs on a building site, slipped down top to bottom, crushed my 2 lower vertebrae, couldn't walk properly for a couple of years. Sued the building company and got a big payout. And I was weighing up, do I get some properties and rent them out, or do I do what I've always wanted to do and do a party in Ibiza? I'd already sorted out I'd got the yards ready to roll. I was like, right. So I looked at it. I was like, what do I really want to do? Well, it's a no-brainer, isn't it? What do I want to do? I'm a DJ. I want to follow my heart and my passion. So we took on Ibiza. And it was all looking amazing. We'd gone over to the island. Everyone that I knew, all the guys that defected that was in Eden as well, they were saying, your lineups look sick. You know, I spent dough on our lineup.
Yeah,
you know, everything looked, all the artwork looked sick, all of the promo we were doing. Everyone that had been in the island for years was like, your promo looks on point. I had loads of PRs, all the t-shirts, everything was logoed up. It looked wicked. Because obviously I was doing my research and speaking to all the other promoters in the island saying, do you think we're doing the right thing? Because
of course.
You got to remember, I'm not a promoter. I'm winging it. I'm a DJ that's just like, right, I want to do this. And my pal, he's not a promoter. He's just backing excuse me, he was just backing me with the money. And then it was the year Brexit was announced, wasn't it? 2017.
Yeah.
So the euro was stronger than the pound. Kids weren't going over there. It was literally the worst season that Ibiza had in 15 years. And after the first week leading up to the party, there was obviously we're speaking to the tour operators, and the tour operators saying, "Oh, it's not looking good for the first half of the season. The hotels aren't fully booked. By now, they'd normally be fully booked."
In general, in the whole of Ibiza.
Whole of Ibiza.
Yeah.
They were like, "It's not looking great for the first half of the season." And I'm like, "Oh, God, don't say this.
No, that's stress.
Don't say this. I've done all my dough."
Mm.
Don't get me wrong, I still had bookings coming at weekends here.
Yeah.
I was over there every Monday because our party was on a Wednesday. So I was going over there on a Monday, taking the PR staff all around, taking them to all the hot spots. Everyone was dead. There was like kids on the beach, families, buckets and spades. I'm like, where's the ravers, man?
No way.
The first night we managed to pull 1,500 into our opening party. And we was like, okay, we can build on this. This, for our first night in Ibiza.
Just so we get an idea, how much do you need to get into break even, would you say, roughly, into a place like that?
We worked it out. If we'd have had 3 nights with 3,000 people, we'd have broke even.
Oh, is it? So you only needed 3 out of the
we needed
out of
3
the
nights.
whole season.
That's why we did it, because on paper,
it was doable.
We could have come away with a lot of dough. That's why people earn big money over there.
Yeah.
But for people that, obviously, looking back at it now, I should have listened to other people's advice and started smaller. But because I was doing so well here, I went a bit ballsy, didn't I? I was like, wow, what are you talking about? I'm going to smash it. I was fully believed that we would do well. The first night, if we'd have had that the whole summer, we'd have smashed it. But the opening party, like I said, was wicked. 1,500 people in there. The club were really happy. They were like, someone that's doing their first party here, they don't really pull these numbers.
Yeah.
So we were like, well, it's going to work. And then we started to see it just go down and down in numbers. I think it was about week 5, I had like 300 people in there. It was dead. We was obviously the same night as Paradise. But then
Did you know that when you was doing
No, of course not. Because no one releases the dates. We were planning this in like April. And then when I see all the dates drop, I was like,
mate,
it's Paradise, man.
Yeah.
But then what I started to notice was, because I was like, there's still quite a few people in San Antonio. Surely I must be able to grab some of them. We had all the tickets out, working for us. I was paying all the tickets out more money. But then I had started getting my PRs just out and about, watching what was going on. The tickets house weren't even promoting our party. If people will go up to them and say, where's worth going in San Antonio tonight? They'd be like, nowhere, go to Paradise.
No way.
And I was prepared to pay them more money for the tickets. But because we were new, Paradise always obviously saying, we'll send everyone our way. We don't want no one going there. So I was
against you, wasn't it?
I was up against it from day one.
Yeah.
So we'd do the party, and we'd committed to 16 weeks. I signed the contract with the club, all the certain deposits were paid. Thankfully, halfway through the season, I said, right, we're going to have to cut back a little bit and start cancelling some DJs.
Yeah.
Obviously, they still had their deposits, but I managed to cancel some DJs. But I didn't want to give up. I was thinking, if I can get to September, because September's always busy out there. So if we have a couple of good closing party nights, I can claw some dough back.
Yeah.
So I kept going. I kept going. How I did, I remember one night, I lost so much money, and when we're coming back to England, I'd paid the PR staff that I could the next day what money I had. Then I'd come back to England, DJ a weekend in England, take my money back over with me, and then pay the people that I couldn't pay the week before with the money that I'd earned here.
Yeah.
My savings were just going like that, going down. My money was just running out rapidly. But I was thinking, right, keep going. And the other parties that were in there, Defected was doing well, but so many other parties had pulled out. They'd given up, but they're dead, they're buried. So in my mind, I was thinking, I've got to keep going because I want my brand to stay intact. Don't want to give up. I don't want anyone to think that it flopped. I've got to keep going. And I had a party already. We had one party booked in Ministry for, I think it was October that year. So I was like, whatever happens, I've got that party coming up, so I can claw some dough back there as well.
Yeah.
So we just kept going. And then I remember we had one night, I think was it June, end of June, which is the Radio 1 weekend, right? I had Low Stepper Martin Ikin booked again, which sold more tickets for that night than we'd sold for any party that the summer. I was thinking, right, this is a night I'm going to claw back some dough. Everyone on the island was like, well, we're going to come to your party tonight because we want to hear Low Stepper. Radio 1 weekend, everyone is in San Antonio. Looked like we was going to smash it. Woke up in the morning, it was like a torrential tornado had hit the island.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Certain flights couldn't land. I had DJs that were on planes that couldn't get there. I mean, you've been to Ibiza.
Yeah.
You know the tunnel in the middle of the island where you got that dip?
Yeah.
That was flooded. People couldn't get
drive through.
People couldn't get across the island. I still had, what did I have that night? I think I had about 900 people that night from San Antonio, but on paper I should have had at least 2,500 in there.
For more.
We'd sold like the tickets, but obviously we had to refund people's tickets.
So it just really, that year was just against you then, wasn't it?
Against me. And I just kept going. And even like some of the bigger DJs that were turning up, they were like, we can't believe what you're having to put up with. You know, big up some of them that wouldn't even take the fee from me.
Oh, is it? Fair play.
Some of the big boys as well that we had playing, they're like, we're not even going to take the fee off you.
Fair play.
Because we can see that you're genuinely trying.
Yeah.
And I was booking them for a ministry as well, so they were getting paid playing there. And they know I was never going to knock them.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, it got worse and worse and worse. And even at the end of September, it was just dead. And I remember coming home with £7 in my bank account. I was like, wow. But I still had loads of bookings. My career was still going.
Yeah.
Which was what was always in the back of my mind. I was like, I've just got to keep going. Just to try and save the brand.
That must have tested you mentally though.
Massively. Massively. People got no idea. I remember one day, I had literally no money to pay anyone. And I was like, I just got to switch my phone off and just drive to the middle of nowhere and just chill out. So I drove out from San Antonio. I couldn't even tell you where I ended up, but there was this beautiful cliff top. And I just went and sat on the edge of this cliff, this big rock, just listening to the crickets and the sound of the waves for about 3 hours, just laying there. And I just thought, I've got two options. I can either just jump,
you know,
and it's over, or I go back to the truck and turn the phone on and deal with it all, which is what I did.
Thank goodness you done that.
Got up. I'd have never done that. You know, I've got family, I've got kids.
Yeah, but mate, people have probably done it for less, mate. Let's be honest.
It was hard, and I was just sitting there and thinking, right, it's only money. I can make money again. I'm losing money, but I can make money. I owe people money. I still owe some people money now from it, which I've got, you know, I'm just struggling still to pay certain things back. But yeah, I've got myself in a massive, massive hole. And then I'm coming back and then trying to DJ at the weekends and keep that same energy going.
Yeah.
But I noticed my sets were suffering because I was so stressed.
Wow.
I was so stressed because all I was thinking about was that.
Of course.
And yeah, when it ended, and then we came back and we did ministry. Thankfully, we sold out ministry, and it kind of gave me the belief again. I was like, I just had to put that period behind me.
Of course.
And not cry about it.
Well, you know, understandable if you did. I mean, thanks for sharing that because, you know, people. It's not easy.
I had hard times with it. Even towards the end of doing the parties at ministry, it was getting harder and harder because ministry was always trying to push me to book headliners. And the sound had started to change anyway. Like the artists that I had originally that were making all of the music had kind of moved on. They weren't really making that sound anymore. So I was having to find new artists. But then the bigger artists, I was like, well, no one's playing it.
Yeah.
Because in the beginning, the artists I had like Low Stepper Martin, they were part of the camp.
Yeah, of course.
Cyrus, all them boys, they were making the music. Harmony and Dance. We was all working together.
Yeah.
But then when they moved on and started doing the more techie stuff, I'm trying to find acts that were still big enough in Ministry's eyes to pull numbers through the door, but still play the right sort of music. And it was getting harder and harder. And then people were coming to the party, and then when the headliners were coming, I'm like, what's this? This is not what we come for. So I started to see that I was losing my crowd.
Yeah, yeah.
But I was so determined in my head to get to 10 years in there that I was still doing it. I think I probably done a year longer than I should have done.
Okay.
Because I started to see that the parties weren't what they were.
Yeah.
I was like, no, this isn't what I want to do anymore.
Lost this identity.
I'm doing it for the wrong reason. I'm doing it for a reason just to stay in a club that's massive.
Yeah.
But I'm not enjoying it anymore.
Bro, it's so real for you to say that. So real and refreshing, because a lot of people won't admit things like that.
No,
Yeah.
I've got to be honest.
Yeah, of course.
You know,
I love that.
It's people. I know people are always going to look. I know people look at me and think, "Oh, Radford's always constantly smashing it." But you know, we all go through. That was a massive mental struggle for me at that time. Thankfully, I've got like to think I've got a strong head on my shoulders, so I dealt with it. But even at the time, I know there was loads of little backbiters going, "Oh, look, Radford's flopped. Radford's party's done. If he moves out of Ministry, his party's over." So I was like, "All right, I'm going to come out of Ministry because." Unless I can do it the way I want to do it, I don't want to do it anymore. I had a party booked with them just before lockdown. Again, I'm always losing dough. So with Ministry, I was on a branding fee. So they would pay me a fee to do the party in there. They would pay the money for the DJs, but they'd take all the door money, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So I couldn't lose. I was on a branding fee,
Yeah.
So the last party just before lockdown, we'd agreed the fee, wicked. I had some money, so I was just wanted to get the posters out there early. So I weighed out all the money for the posters, all the promo. I just seen the first posters go up. I got a phone call from Ministry. They went, hold fire on the promo. I was like, why? They went, we got a shut because of COVID.
Oh.
I just weighed out all the dough for the posters. I was like, oh my God.
Is that a lot of money, is it?
Yeah, it weren't cheap. It was money that I didn't want to lose before lockdown, you know, and then lockdown hit. So it was like I lost that bit of dough just before lockdown, and then I just thought, why am I doing it for? I honestly did. I thought to myself, why am I still doing parties? It's not like I needed to keep my career going because I'm a DJ in my own right.
Yeah, exactly.
But AudioRehab was very, very important to me because it's something that I've got that's different to what anyone else is doing. So even though I took a big step back with it, I thought, right, if I'm going to do it, carry on going forward, I'm just going to use the artists that are making the music. If I have to go back down to doing a 250 capacity venue that I'm not making no money at, so be it. That's the way I want to do it. And as soon as I did that, it took all that pressure off my head. I'm much happier.
Serious?
Yeah. Because I'm not a promoter.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So when I was left to deal with this party in Ministry and Ibiza, I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm just copying what I'm seeing other promoters do. But for them, I take my hat off to promoters that go out there, they stick the boards up, they're out there flyering. I'm like, I can't do that. I don't want to do that. You know, I'm promoting my way just online and just hope people turn up. Yeah,
of course.
And it started to get to the point where they weren't. So I was like, I've got to change something here. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now it's given me the love back for DJing again because it's taken all of the stress away from me. So I'm allowed to just be free with music again. And I'm like, if I'm doing a 250 capacity club and it don't get rammed, it don't matter because I may lose. If I lose a little bit of money that I've had to pay for, I'm prepared to do that.
Yeah, of course.
To still push the authenticity of the sound and the artist that I want to push.
Exactly.
So that's where I'm at the minute with it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, man. Listen, I really appreciate if you open up on that there because, it's not easy to tell stories like that with Ibiza and that as well. So I appreciate that. But let's move on to AudioRehab, the label. So when I was writing these questions and I was doing my research, I know a lot about you anyway because obviously I've followed the journey and been part of it. But I thought, you know what, Radford's like the Wiley of the UK underground house scene. And I don't mean the bad side. You turn up for one.
It's all right, Wiley. We still love you.
Big up Wiley every day, man. Big up Wiley, of course. But like you find so much talent.
Yeah.
Or talent finds you and you give you that exposure. And even like, you know, you created a sound as well and a community like what Wiley done.
Yeah.
So like,
but that's what's been so important for me with it from the beginning. I thought I've got this platform to be able to push new sound, because for me that's all I ever wanted to do was hear new music, find new sounds, be exposed to new music. So I thought if I can be part of that, then that's an amazing thing, and that's what keeps me going. That's why I keep going with the label, keep going with the parties, because new artists come to me and I'm like, my God, you lot are making music for me to put out on my label.
100%.
Like,
you can tell people make music for your label.
Exactly. And that overrides all of the stress that I went through, everything that I've lost, all of the problems that I've had with it, all the struggles I've had to keep it going. The fact that that's still happening to this day,
it keeps you going.
Overrides all of it.
Yeah, of course.
That's like, I wake up in the morning and I'm still like, I've still got my inbox full of tunes from people that want me to put it out on my label.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
powerful.
Like, how can I not be happy?
It's powerful. Because so like talk with some of the talent that you exposed, like you got out there, gave exposure. Shay Burke, Carneo Beats, Playtime Productions, Louis Anderson, Night Shift, just to name a few. Some serious producers there that you know you gave big
groundbreaking producers, man.
Yeah,
each in their own right. It's like, I don't think they get. I don't want to say it like I'm saying, "Oh, we don't get the props we deserve," but we don't. I think because we've come from an underground scene that we've all come from different backgrounds to get into house. We were never part of a little house thing. Like I said, we started our own little journey in house. So because we've not been connected to any of the bigger guys or come from them, they never really give us the time of day. Do you know what I mean? So it was always kept within us, and it was down to us to push it. You know, even look at the shuffling thing. We were getting, like, the amount of hate we used to get was ridiculous. The whole anti-shuffling page and all that nonsense. It was like, we were getting people trying to stop us, block us from getting bookings.
Oh, no.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's like, why? Because I don't care about you lot. I'm not interested in what you lot are doing. I'm not trying to take away from what anyone else has got going on. All I'm trying to do is push my music and my group of artists.
Of course.
Like, why can't you just let us do it without talking bad about us?
Exactly. But even, let's go just from the first release, one of the anthems back then, Serious People. What a tune. Started off with a bang.
Absolutely.
Started with an absolute bang.
Yeah.
So from there, you must have just known this label. Did you know from then the label was going to be big? From the first release, because that is one of the anthems back then.
Yeah. So at that moment in time, it's weird. Now I look back at it, we just had anthem after anthem after anthem, and it was like we would.
But that was, I think that might be because of you though as well, not just because of the music, because you got to remember you had the underground scene in your hand back then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Radford was the man, isn't it?
So it's like anything I was playing,
so
like everyone wanted.
Exactly.
So yeah, it went hand in hand.
It did.
Totally. And I'm fully aware of that. I had the bullets.
You did.
That everyone wanted, you know, and I would go into raves and I would hear everyone else playing our music. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. I've got something here.
Yeah, of course.
You know. But like everything changes, everything goes, you know, I say it goes around in 7-year cycles. So artists move on, they do other things. And there was a period where I felt a little bit lost with it. Musically, the core producers that I had moved on, and I was trying to find ones that would give me the same energy and excitement that I was getting from them. But people just kind of weren't really making the music for a little while. Everyone moved on to the tech thing. So I was still finding tracks to put out. I'm not taking anything away from those tracks, but they weren't that sound.
Weren't the original sound.
No.
Yeah.
Whereas now, I think it's come back but 10 times stronger.
Okay.
I mean, these new lot I've got like Nocturnal Joe, Danny Ghost, Jack Burt. These guys are making serious quality music.
Yeah.
Like back then it was raw.
Yeah.
You know, which obviously gave it the excitement.
Yeah, undiluted.
But I think now we've got the rawness, but with the quality of production as well.
Yeah, I agree. Was there any releases that came close that didn't come out on AudioRehab? Was there any like producers that you nearly got or tracks and then it didn't actually go over the line? Or did you manage to get everything you wanted?
Do you know what? There's one tune, without even sounding bad, that I'd sent to me, and it had been in my inbox for ages. And then I heard someone play it, and I was like, "Oh, that's that tune that the guy wanted me to release," but I never got back to him.
Who was it?
House Every Weekend.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
David
Zowie sent you House Every Weekend for Audio Rehab, but you didn't release it.
Didn't release it.
Did you kick yourself for that then?
Honestly,
or
yes, of course.
Wow.
Of course. I remember when
getting some exclusives here today,
everyone was playing it, and then I was like, shit, I swear he sent me this ages ago. But I think subconsciously I thought this is going to become really commercial, and it was, for me, it was, without sounding bad, because Big Up Dave, massive success for that tune. It still sounded a little bit cheesy for me to start with.
All right, so then with the success that it had, and it is a cheesy house song because it ended up on compilations and things like that. Would you still have wanted that on Audio Rehab?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was
because the money it would have made us.
Money.
Totally.
So even though it isn't the actual, like you were just talking about, like the DNA of Audio Rehab.
Yeah, but if you're honest, I think every label does want that successful chart track in their catalogue.
Yeah, of course.
You want the gold discs on your wall.
Of course.
As much as we like to say, we're here for the underground, and I love the music we're putting out, I'd have been like, he's come from the underground, it's gone cheesy. I'd have had that all day long.
So have you had a conversation with him since, after it ever blew up?
He was going to do a remix for us after that, because I said to him, that should have been on my label. And then I think there's a couple of things that went on with me. He had a car crash and stuff, didn't he? And I think he kind of stopped making music for a while. So the remix never happened. He actually started it and he sent me a version of it just as a voice note. But then nothing happened after that. And I don't really know what happened to him after that. He's just not really done anything, has he?
No.
But yeah, that was one.
No, that's good. I'm glad I asked you that. That's crazy. All right, what's the most successful releases on the label? Are you aware of them?
Yeah, Know My Name, Coneo Beats.
Yeah.
When I'm in Edge and Dance did a rework of it.
Of course.
Obviously, Serious People. It was all the early tunes.
Oh, is it?
They were the most successful ones we had. Lonely Travels and Murder on the Dance Floor.
Yeah. Well, Arkind.
Yeah.
Arkind's probably my favourite release ever on the label.
In terms of, let's be real, digital downloads don't make a penny.
No, of course, yeah.
Nothing.
Of course.
There's no money involved in it.
Of course.
It's like peanuts that we make from the label. But in terms of creating the brand, they were the biggest tunes that we had.
Huge.
Without a doubt. The tracks that we've got now are still massive, but for me, they're still great tracks. That's all I play. Majority of my set is the music that I'm getting sent to me for the label. But I think because back then the energy was so fresh and so new, they will, it's going to be hard to ever beat those tracks.
Of course it is, yeah. Of course, yeah. What was your favourite release on the label, personal?
That's a hard one.
Yeah. Give me a top 3 if you want. No order. I told you mine was Arkind.
Chords of Life, Coneo. Remember Chords of Life?
Yeah.
That, Push It, Adam Cottier. I love that tune. And Lonely Travels.
Yeah.
Because that bass line was just like, Shay sung it in the bath.
Did he?
Yeah.
Quality.
Completely out of tune in places.
Quality.
But it just worked.
He got Shay.
Yeah. Come on. He's making some great music again.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I've heard of it, actually.
Can't wait to release some stuff.
Oh, are you going to release some?
Yeah.
Wicked.
We're going to bring him back, man. Definitely.
Nice. So you got a sister brand as well, Plus Recordings.
I left that.
Done.
Done.
Why?
Just under the time.
Because what was that? Was that to allow you to branch the sound a bit different, or
To
B-sides, or?
No, because at the time, if I'm real, I was getting sent so much music, AudioRehab just couldn't deal with it.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to turn, even though some of the music wasn't quite good enough to go onto AudioRehab, I still wanted to help push and nurture these artists. Excuse me. So I was like, well, I'm still going to play the tracks on radio. So then we start another label to help bring them through.
Yeah, nice.
And give them the belief that someone's going to release their music, and then give them a release on AudioRehab, which is what I was doing.
Yeah.
I was giving them 2 or 3 releases on there. They'd be getting better. Then I'd put them in AudioRehab. Next minute, they'd be playing in the party. That's what I was doing. But then it got to a point where, if I'm honest, I wasn't getting enough music to support both the labels. And then I was back at work, obviously, after I had the loss of Ibiza. I had to go back to work full time as well. So I was working full time and juggling my DJ career and the label. I was like, well, one's got to give. So I kind of shelved it.
Yeah, fair enough.
If I'm honest.
Yeah, fair enough. Let's talk quickly about some strong relationships you've built in this scene. I don't know if they're your friends before or not, but Adam Cottier, B3, Carneo, seem to have like strong relationship with people like that.
Yeah.
Played a good part alongside you as well in your career.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Without that. I mean, I didn't know them before music.
Okay.
We all met through the scene.
So yeah, name them 3. Anyone else like been part of your journey?
Lance
Morgan.
Yeah, without that.
Yeah.
Obviously Lawrence, but Lawrence is not an artist. He was the one that had the belief in me from the beginning.
Yeah.
Even Tipper, Kismet, Fever, them boys, they've always believed in me, always
Yellow
pushed
Days
me, always brought me in on their things. So yeah.
Where did Lance play his part with you then? Where did that all come into play?
So Lance, he was, when Aquarium started popping, he was doing his little house on the street thing, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And he was sending me mixes, asking me about this and that, and I just took a shine to him. I just liked him. He was like a younger kid trying to come through, but I liked his work ethic. And over the years, we've just become friends, and now me and Mabif, we did a foundation party.
Yeah.
And I respect him massively. His work ethic's on point, and he's about it.
So how's the foundation brand going? All right.
Really good.
Yeah.
That's a less stressful thing because there's 3 of us involved. It just works, all 3 of us pull our little part. And
what's the concept to just bring back the energy of 2012 era and before?
Yeah, exactly that. Just play the music that we was part of the beginning of, and then try and bring in key other artists from that era, the ones that were part of the foundation of the sound we got now, hence the name.
Yeah.
But not take it too seriously, We don't want to we're not trying to get massive with it. We just want to do nice, cool,
authentic. Yeah.
Take it back to then, like small parties, just a nice vibe.
Nice. Also, like your productions as well, sick. Like,
thank you.
Watch Your Nobody is one of the anthems back then as well.
Thank you.
But one remix you did, and I just remember like the first time you played it was Serious People remix.
Right.
And I just remember it was like, because at first you think it's the same tune.
Yeah, and
then
change up the bass line.
I remember hearing it, I was like, obviously I was buzzing or whatever. I was like, this is sick, bro.
Yeah.
So when what was your first tune? It weren't B-Boy Stance, was it? What was your first like tune that you actually started playing out back then? Radford Productions. Because I remember B-Boy Stance was one of the first I think I heard of you.
Ain't Nobody Like Me was one of the first ones that I made.
Okay.
Within that sound. And then I did an EP. I can't remember that, mate.
You done one with Cottier as well, didn't you? One of your early ones.
Done a couple with that. There was the collaboration EP that I did with Adam and Riaz.
Yeah.
But my memory's terrible, bro. I can't remember what I did last week. I've got so many tunes that I open my laptop, I'm like, I forgot I started that.
Yeah.
But like with any artist, I go through phases of thinking everything I'm making is absolute crap. And just thinking, what am I doing it for? Do you know what I mean? Who am I?
Yeah,
I can't make music. I'm rubbish. And then I'll leave the tracks and then I'll come back to it and I'm like, why have I not been playing that track? Like I did a remix of Astro Tracks, Pressure Chant, Feel the Vibe, Feel the Pressure. I did a remix of that in 2014, right? My 100% me. And some people say to me, we know, like, I send tunes to my mates to listen to. They go, yeah, it just sounds like a Radford tune. I'm like, but is that not a good thing? But then I start doubting it. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh, it just sounds like me. Why can't I make something that don't sound like me?
But that's a good
But
thing.
why am I trying to make something that don't sound like me?
Signature sound, man. That's a
but
good
that's
thing.
why sometimes you just have to not listen to anyone else. Just go, do you know what? This is what I've made. I'm going to play it. And that in particular, I made it in 2014. I didn't even really play it. And then, I don't know why, but I found it on my hard drive and I thought, wow, this is sick. So I started playing it at the beginning of the last year in all of my sets, all of the festivals I was playing at, and it's just going off. Still now, it's
Sick.
It's one of them tunes that I'm just going to keep dropping because it's smashing it.
Yeah. Wicked, man. Saturday, 10 till 12. On a Saturday night, Rinse FM. What a show. How big, when did it start? Because I only come into 2011 is when I become aware of your radio show.
God, I can't even remember what year it was now.
But what a show.
So it was basically, they became legal. And I was on there literally the week or so after.
How did you manage to learn that?
Tipper.
Okay.
Big up Tipper.
You got Tipper every time, man.
Big up Tipper. I said he was booking me for Yellow, and he said to all that little South London crew, all of the girls were following me around. They just became my little fan base from South London. And I can't thank Tipper and him not enough. He said to G, you need to get Radford on there. You know, you can't ask to be on Rinse. You have to be asked.
Yeah.
You know, and I was like, what? He's like, we want you to do a show on Rinse.
Sick.
I was like, oh, wow. I was playing on just pirate stations at the time.
But you must have grown up listening to Rinse.
Not really, because I wasn't even really into grime.
Okay.
You know, there was more
dubstep, grime.
Yeah, I wasn't really into it.
But you was aware of it.
I was aware of it. I was aware of Rinse. And when he said to me, "Want you
Rinse?" listening to Cool FM and so you grew up.
Yeah, Deja Vu. Because they're the stations that I was playing on, Freak FM.
Oh, was you on Deja as well? Yeah.
Yeah.
Sick.
My first ever radio station was Weekend Rush.
Okay.
And I used to play jungle.
Yeah.
Under my old DJ name, Dubplate.
Okay.
So that's the first station I played on. No, Rude FM was the first station I ever played on, years before. But yeah, I was on Deja when I was playing Garage, Freak FM, done a couple of shows on Choice FM. But then I'd stopped radio for a while. And obviously that's when I developed my sound into what I was doing. And then, Tipper went, I've got your show on Rinse. Put that in front, I was like, yeah! Honestly!
Yeah,
I was like, what? What's going on?
When did you start? What was the original first show?
It was I think it was 8 till 10, I think it was.
Oh, is it? What, on a Saturday?
Saturday.
So you had a good slot from early doors then?
From early.
Nice.
You know, I had that show for 5 years.
Okay.
10 till 12 hours for 5 years.
That was a powerful show. And especially when the label then come about, it was like you'd listen in to see what might be coming out on the label. It became like that, didn't it?
I had that moment where every week producers were locking in to hear what the other ones had made.
Yeah.
And they were trying to outdo each other each week.
Yeah.
I was like, what is going on? This is just mad. So each week I was hearing producers becoming better and better and better.
Yeah.
Because they're listening to, and I've got to outdo him this week. So then it was like, they were like battling each other through me. It was mad.
Yeah.
And it was an amazing time. Absolutely amazing time. It was like, I can't even tell you.
I remember some wicked shows on there though, like when you had a lot of them in Carneo and that.
Yeah.
And like, you was like, even like I remember it's the first time we met each other and all of that. I just remember it.
Well, for me, that was always as soon as I could see what was going on, I thought, right, I've got this platform now. Let me reinforce that it's not just about me. It's about everyone else is making music. I want to give these guys a platform. I want to help them if I can. I want to get them the bookings, give them the opportunity to show what they're about. So that's when I started doing interviews and bringing people in and and just waffling absolute nonsense.
Nah, it was good, bro. It was good listen. Everyone enjoyed it. It was good listen.
Wicked. Thank you.
Nah, it was brilliant, man.
It was a great time. I thoroughly enjoyed it, man.
I bet you did.
But I think with everything, towards the end of it, because the sound had changed so much, I felt like I think it was it ended at the right time on there. Because I felt like when I was interviewing people, I just felt like I was asking the same questions. I was like, I only said to myself, I need to give it a break. I need to have a break from radio. And then obviously the dynamics of the station changed and they weren't doing any more fixed shows on a Saturday. So we were just, I was doing a pre-record, sending it in, and then they'd put it out as and when. And I just thought, it's not worth it anymore.
No, it's not the same, is it?
It's had its moment. Let's not rinse it. Pardon the
excuse the pun.
Excuse the pun. So yeah, do you know, like maximum respect to G and them for supporting me and believing in me at that time.
Of course.
You know, it's nothing is gonna stay as it is forever. So I had that moment in time, and I'm forever thankful for that.
Yeah.
And realised it had run its course, and I was like, do you know what, it's done now, isn't it?
Yeah. Fair enough, man. No, it's powerful stuff, man. Rinse FM Saturday night 10 till 12. If I was to say to you, what would you say is your highlight of your career, or some of the highlights? What would you say back to me?
That first night of ministry is my absolute highlight, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, nothing's gonna top that.
Yeah, nice, man.
Nothing.
Your son picked up the headphones.
Yes, he did.
And you've done a couple back-to-backs together.
Yeah.
How was that?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Did
you make him start DJing?
No,
how did that work?
Not at all. So he was kind of into grime.
Big up the grime crew,
he was into grime, and when he was younger, and then I think it was his 18th birthday. He'd started to show an interest in. I think I did a party for him at his mum's house on his 16th birthday, and all his mates were just rapping over the music, and he wasn't really into it at the time. But I remember his 18th birthday, previous to that, he'd started taking a note of. I think he'd started to understand who his dad was. What was going on. Rather than me just being his dad, I think he started to realize, my dad's actually out there. He started to obviously notice online. He was paying attention to what was going on. He was when he was 18. So he was 18th birthday. I took him to AudioRehab Coronet.
Sick.
I was playing upstairs. Getting big up Madge, big up Cheeky, and took him and his mates to his first ever rave. Literally saw him for the first 5 minutes and didn't see him again until the end of the night.
Wicked.
He's come out with a pair of sunglasses and I'm like, you all right? Yeah. Have a good time, did you? And then that was it.
Quality.
I got him. He was in. He was fully invested.
Quality.
And I had a studio in Limehouse at the time. And I remember he's like, can I come to the studio with you? Can you show me how the decks work and that? I was like, of course.
Bet you was loving that, when you?
Oh, it was amazing.
Yeah.
So I remember when he came to the studio, he'd never touched a pair of CDJs in his life. So I showed him how they worked, worked out a set for him. So to take the decks away with you, there's the set of tunes, practice with those tunes, because I know they go together. I showed him how to put them together, and then come back when you're ready. Within about a month, he's like, Dad, I'm ready. I was like, what? He went, I can do it. He said, I know I can do it. I was like, all right. So he come back to the studio. First mix he did, I was like, what the, wow. He got it. He hadn't, the set that I'd put together for him was gone. He was like, no, I've got my own thing going on. He was playing his own tunes. He'd started to find his own sound. He'd got it. Instantly got it.
Yeah. Because he can mix. I've seen him.
Yeah, Deck's a bad boy behind the
mix. Yeah, he can. Yeah.
Yeah, he's serious.
So then when you played out and done a back-to-back, how was that?
I didn't want to play. Just wanted to watch him.
Did you?
Yeah, it's mad. Yeah. I didn't want to take any shine away from him. I just wanted it to be about him.
But did they not book you as a back-to-back though?
Yeah. But yeah, it was amazing. Yeah. I remember I sneaked in. His first ever set he did was upstairs at Egg. And I sneaked in. He didn't know I was coming. And he was smashing it.
Yeah.
I was hiding at the back. I was hiding around, upstairs. I was hiding around the back.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just had to run over there. Oh my God, you're sick.
What, towards the end or at the beginning?
No, it was in about 10 minutes.
Couldn't stop yourself. Quality.
Yeah, it's brilliant. But no, he's good. He's developed his own sound as well. He's got his own little party running as well. So he's doing his own little thing as well.
Nice. Yeah, wicked, man. Wicked.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so what's 2024 looking like for Radford then?
Busy.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I always take, this weekend's my first weekend back. I'd always take January and February off, have a little breather.
Yeah.
Just had my 50th, so I was away for that.
Nice.
Now till September, it's pretty much fully booked already.
Wow.
I've got loads of music that I'm working on as well at the minute. Loads of amazing stuff coming through from the label.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing an audio rehab in April, just a little one at Basing House.
Yeah.
Just going to do a few little parties there this year just to start building it back up again.
Yeah.
But like I said, I'm not putting any pressure on it. I'm not into it for being the biggest or the best or having the most people in the rave.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to do it for the right reason. Have a small party with the guys that are playing the music and the right people in there to hear the sound that we're pushing. And want to be there for it. I don't want to be forcing it onto people that don't even know who we are.
No, exactly.
Which is what was happening before, you know?
Yeah. Ministry can get like that though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, full respect to the guys at Ministry, but that's what started to happen. And when you're a club that big, they've got to think about the paying notes and what's paying the money. They don't care about a groundbreaking record label that just want to push a niche market.
No,
they're like, no, we don't care. We want money, edge through the door.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I've gone back to where it began. Smaller underground parties with no stress.
Wicked.
I said, if it's going to cause stress for me, I'm not interested in it anymore. I'd rather just go and play music.
You've had enough stress, let's be
honest.
Exactly.
Don't need any more.
Yeah, you have. Wicked, man. All right, well, I really appreciate you coming through.
Absolute pleasure,
and I appreciate all the stories you've told and, you know, opening up, telling us about the ups and downs.
Do you know what? The younger lot, the DJs need to hear it.
Yeah, of course.
Because they put so much, I can see that nowadays the internet is just such a stressful environment for them. They always feel like they've got to be the best. We all have bad days. I've had bad years.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? But I'm still here, still going. So when they're constantly comparing themselves to others, you just got to stop doing that.
No. You
just got to believe in yourself and concentrate on what you're doing and focus on that. Don't worry about what anyone else is doing.
There you go.
Because it's only going to do you nothing.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Wicked, man. Well, thanks for the wise words as well, closing it there.
Absolute pleasure, my friend.
Mate, yeah. So big up Mark Radford. Make sure you follow him. Get down to the next Audio Rehab party as well, Basing House, April
the 13th.
April the 13th. Get down there to hear that raw, authentic underground house sound. Yeah?
Big up.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, comment, all the usual stuff, and look out for more podcasts.